my story, I feel like, is a testimony of hope for sure. And when I tell my story, I like to start out by saying that there's nothing particularly special about my story. I mean, we're all special in our own way, but I don't feel like it's that different from most of the women listening to this Facebook Live right now. We've all been through difficult circumstances in our lives, and no one is really an exception to that. I had many difficult things leading up to probably the game changer of my story. And I lost my dad to cancer. He was only 49, and I was 30 years old. A couple years later, I lost my father-in-law to cancer. Then my brother and sister-in-law lost a child. And there was just so many things adding up, and reasons that I could have just wanted to stay in bed and never get out. I don't know if you guys ever feel like that. But there was something that always kept me. And we actually talked about this before we went live, and talked a little bit about the scripture of the anchor of our soul and Jesus being that anchor, because in circumstances in your life, everything, it can be swirling around you physically, emotionally, affecting you negatively, things with your family or finances or whatever it is. But when you have Jesus in your life, that hope really does anchor you and keep you in one spot. So I was thinking about how the storms of life, it's like being in that boat that we read about that the disciples were in with Jesus, and there's this huge storm, and Jesus is sleeping, right? And he eventually gets up and he's kind of mad at the disciples. He's like, what's wrong with you? Didn't you know I was here? And that's that anchor that no matter what I was going through, I knew that he was there. So in 2012, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And just a year earlier, my husband actually almost died twice. So my biggest thought was, how can I put my kids through this? They just went through this with their dad. But I sat them down and I told them, you know what, guys, I'm going to fight with everything I have within me. But on top of that, we are not those without hope. And we will make it. We will fight together, and we will trust God. And so I did the chemo and the surgeries and everything the doctors told me to do, I did, because I wasn't going to put them through it again. But all along that way, that anchor of my soul was little things that Jesus did for me to remind me that he was there. He says he'll never leave us or forsake us. So what to other people may seem as little things, to me, they were so obvious that he was saying, I'm here. I'm in the boat. Why are you so worried? I'm in the boat with you. Yes, we're in a storm. He never said, we're not in a storm. We're not in a storm. We're not in a storm. No. He said, we're in a storm, but I am here. And those little things that he did for me along the way is what really got me through. And part of that is because I had been having this relationship and having to put my trust in him for so many different things throughout the years that you get a little bit used to him being there in a good way. And so he did things for me that helped me see he was there. And then the beauty of it is not only does he take us out of the storm, but he uses the storm for something positive in our lives. For me, it's been many things. One of them was opening the door to go on Survivor. And the reason that that's significant is because it's given me a platform to share how good God is with so many more people. So while we're going through COVID and a pandemic and something none of us ever thought, a storm we didn't expect to be in, I just want women to know that you do have an anchor for your soul. You may be in a storm right now, but there's an anchor, and his name is Jesus, and he will never leave you and forsake you. And if you ask him to show you those little things, those reminders that he's there, he's faithful, and he will. And you know what? It's gonna be okay.